focused, man.
It gives me on the back end, and then finally I got this coveted Burundi visa. What's up, everybody? Once again, this is J Focus reminding you to stay focused.
Man.
So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Burundi visa. So if you don't know, if you come from a country that's outside of the East African community, you're probably going to need a visa if you want to travel to Burundi. Now, currently, you can get a visa on arrival, but it could be a process and it could change at any point in the future. So in the past, especially during COVID, you did need to get a visa in advance. And even before that, they changed the rules. So they've gone through periods where you have been able to get that visa right away as soon as your plane lands. And then they've also gone through periods where they've taken it away, right? So just to be safe, I want to go through and tell you guys what the process is like if you want to get a visa for Burundi while you're in a neighboring country. So in my case, I was in Kigali in Rwanda, in the capital. And there's a Burundi embassy there. There's also a Burundi embassy in Kampala. And I assume that the process is going to be more or less the exact same in Kampala because it's so close and it's also part of the East African community. So the first day when I went to the embassy of Burundi, I showed up on a Monday, you know, not super early. I arrived around 11:30, right? You would assume that the embassy is going to be open at least until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon because online, the information was all over the place. Google wasn't telling me much. You couldn't really see anyone who broke it down step by step, what they did, what it was like once they went to get that visa, right? And as I said, I did have the option to get it on arrival, whether I flew or if I went through the border. But one thing about once you come to a border, you're 100% stuck. You have no other options. If you're traveling with luggage, you've got a hotel booked, you get to that border, you've got to get in or you're losing money, right? So you're at the mercy of whatever immigration official is there that day, and they might ask for extra money. I'm not saying that about Burundi. I'm just saying that anywhere in the world where the borders are not as heavily transited and where they require a visa for many nationalities. So anyway, to skip all of that, what I did was I went to the embassy of Burundi located in Kigali. And so I showed up around 11:30 in the morning, 11:40, something like that. And there was no one at the gate when you first go up. So I had to bang on the gate, waited a couple minutes. A guy comes up and he says, hey, you're going to have to come back because right now we're shut down. And I was really surprised. And he said, yeah, every day at 12, we shut down. So even though it was almost 12 and I was there before that, they were like, okay, you got to come back. So I said, okay, you know, that's different. All right, I'll come back. So I came back in the afternoon. I had read online what little information was there, and I came prepared. I couldn't find a form to download online. Maybe they posted it now, but it wasn't on the website or anywhere that I looked. So I didn't have that, but I came with the cash because depending on how long you're going to stay, you might pay $40 US for a transit visa as of right now. You might pay $70 for, I believe it's 30 days, and then you pay $90 for 3 months, okay? So I came with cash, US dollars, because they only want US dollars, and they want it to be more or less newer bills. They don't want really old bills. They don't want 20s, which is really odd because if you're gonna spend 90 or you're gonna pay 90, you're not gonna be able to pay with a $100 bill because they don't have change. and you're not going to be able to pay with $250. So I don't know exactly how they want you to bring the money, but they want at least one $50 bill is my understanding, right? So I show up in the afternoon after they have their lunch or whatever, and there was pretty much no instructions once I got into the actual embassy. The embassy is quite small, and there was no one when I walked in the door to say, hey, sir, you need to go here, or sir, have a seat. We're going to get to you when we can get to you. There was nothing. So I'm just in a room of people, and some people are standing at the counter. Some people are sitting down. I don't know who's in what order. I don't know anything. So it's really left to me to find out. And I didn't want to be rude because the woman at the desk, she's talking to someone else. And there was no one else who looked official, who I knew 100% was official, part of the embassy, and not just there for a visa like me. Right. So anyway, eventually I just said, look, I got to be rude. I got to say something. So I spoke to the woman who was at the counter. I said, excuse me. I spoke in English because I don't know Kenya, Rwanda, or whatever else. So she said, no, wait. And I said, okay, right. So I have a seat and I'm waiting. And then eventually, her demeanor changes up. She welcomes me to come over. I come over, I tell her I'm there for the visa. They give me the form, fill the form out. She asked me if I have a photo. I did. I actually showed her with a passport photo, which is important. You want to bring that so it's one less delay. I don't even know if they're set up to take pictures. It didn't seem like it. So you want to make sure you have at least one passport size photo. If I was you, I would show it with a pen because they may or may not have a pen to loan you to fill out the form. And I'm trying to think what else. So you want money, you want to have a pen, you want to have a passport size photo, the right size. And then you also want to have a copy of the first page of your passport, the one with all the information about your age, your birth date, etc. You know the page I'm talking about. You want to have a copy of that. It doesn't have to be color or anything, but that needs to be attached. It's going to go along with your application, right? So I went through all that, handed it to the woman who was helpful at the desk, and she told me, can you wait? And I was like, wait? And she's like, yeah, the guy who has to sign off on it, he's not there. And so I actually had another appointment because this is already the second time that I've come to the embassy in one day. And I'm like, well, how long do I have to wait? And she says, and I said, what, 30 minutes? She said, no, it's going to be over an hour. And I said, I can't waste my whole afternoon here. Well, my whole day, basically, at this point. So, I forgot to mention this. So when you first come into the gate, the security, they take your cell phone from you. So know that in advance, right? And they don't even give you a slip, like a ticket saying, okay, your name left this phone. It's just very informal. They sign you in, they do look at your passport, and then they take your phone, and that's it. So if there's a shift in the guards and another guard comes, I don't even know how that process would work when you say, hey, that's my phone. Or if any person can come out and just be like, hey, that was my phone. And they give you the other phone because a lot of phones can look alike, right? So anyway, this is different things that they can improve on that I've seen anyway. So I have my cell phone waiting outside where the gate guards are. And I'm sitting there in the lobby, waiting, completely bored. And she's telling me it could take an hour. It could take more, right? So I decide, hey, I'm going to, keep it moving. So I say, look, I'm going to leave. Is it possible in the morning? She said, yeah, in the morning. But she wants to hold my passport. And I'm like, and I said, can you at least give me like a slip, something that says, the embassy of Burundi has my passport. Can you stamp something? And she was just kind of looking at me like I was crazy to even ask. Like no one would ever ask that. And she's like, no, you don't need it. And I'm just like, what if I come here tomorrow and you're not working? Someone else is working. And I say, look, you guys have my passport. And she says, what passport? Not saying that would happen, but there's a possibility. And I don't like to play those kind of games. I don't like to leave things that open, right? So I decided to take my passport. I let her keep the application. And I assumed in the morning, it would be stamped and ready to go, hopefully, right? So I take my passport, go back, get my cell phone, and then I head back home, right? So then the next day in the morning, I show up. This time I show up early because I know that they close for the day or whatever for the lunch break around 11:40, right? So I said, okay, I'm gonna show up at like 9:30 this time. So I show up in the morning. The gate guards recognize me. They're a little more friendly this time. They still take my cell phone. I go up to the counter. This time she actually takes the money because she wouldn't accept the money the day before with the guy not being there. So this time she accepts the money. So I said, okay, this time I'm actually gonna get it. And before she accepts the money, she asked me, do you know where an ATM is? There's a bank, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I'm ready to go. We can go forward with it. And so I'm still waiting, right? She's like, the guy's not here right now. And I'm like, this is my third time here. And it's still not ready, right? And it should be a relatively simple procedure because I got to add this as well. It's not like they were busy. There might have been, the first time I went, there might have been like 8 people waiting. The second time I went, maybe 2 or 3 people. When I came back in the morning, there might have been 1 other person. So you would think that it would be very straightforward since they process these every day, at least in theory, right? So she takes my money. This time I do leave the passport, right? Because I'm like, all right, it's inevitable. And because I'm coming back the same day, I said, I gotta, cross my fingers. I gotta have faith that they're gonna do what they said they're gonna do. So I come back the 4th time, right? So this is Tuesday afternoon. I go in and lo and behold, I have this to show for it. I've got the receipt saying that they took the money, and they didn't give me this receipt when I had initially paid the money. So, they gave it to me on the back end, and then finally I got this coveted Burundi visa. So now I got the easy pass. When I go through the border into Burundi, I don't have to deal with any shenanigans. I don't have to deal with waiting in a special line. And it makes me think that if it took 2 days essentially to get it at the embassy where it wasn't even busy, when I get to the border, which is going to be busier than the embassy for sure, I can't imagine how many hours it would take to get it there, or like how vulnerable I would be, right? Because at that point, I got to pay whatever they say. Some dude might be like, look, if you could get it in an hour or you could get it in 8 hours. Can you help me out? I'm trying to get a meal, or, whatever. Or maybe even more than that, because if it was just a meal, shoot, I would give them enough money to get a meal, but you know what I'm trying to say. So long story short, it was a process, but now I got my visa. I'm ready to go to Burundi. Look forward to that video coming up, and it's going to be an adventure. Kigali to Burundi. Let's get it. All right, until next time, this is Jay Focused, reminding you to stay focused. We out of here. Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you. Until next time.
Love yours. Such thing as a life that's better than yours. Love